can we? Yes, I wanted to ask you about the point of departure. Why this topic? Why? Where did you get that movie from? I mean, in generally, we want to make a movie about the changes in Saudi Arabia, like the social changes. There's a huge change going on right now. It's like a wave of social change. They want to abolish the social police. There's no physical punishment. So, like the woman who would be walking on the street with a man other than her husband should be beaten. It's changing a lot, even though the culture is totally different. And we got into a moment when 2 years before, Prince Salmo, he's the leader of the social change, allowed women to drive a car. And two princesses, they decided to take part in the ride. They got sponsors. And I was supposed to make that movie. And when I said there was no drama, there was no struggle there from on their side, rather than a sort of self-creation, building their own image. So it was more like a PR assignment. So I knew that it will be nothing about the rights of women. I didn't really know what this film should be about. And during the rally, we were setting up our tents next to where Konrad had a breakdown, next to this caravan where Konrad had a breakdown. We recorded on the 4th day the scene of Konrad having a nervous breakdown, and he got inside. The micropod was there. I knew that this might be a topic, among others. We're looking for the way out of this situation, and it's sort of it's worked. We met them in the beginning of the rally. They accepted us to their team. So you need to, if you were in the auxiliary cars, you have to have a license for this. So you met them during this. The topic was supposed to be Marek Dąbrowski is a well-known person. He's people who know about motor sports. Czachor and Dąbrowski, they used to drive quite a lot. He was 19th time participant in Dakar. He won some very important rallies. So I knew who this guy was when I was there. But I was shocked during the first day when I saw a very well-known rally racer, and this racer was taking a car. It's like a total. If you're in a car in Paris Dakar, it's a totally different money, totally different safety. And he said that this is his son. He said like this. But the father was scared out of his wits at all times. That his father was that his son is taking part in the rallies. It's like a struggle between the father and the son. The father wants to take him away of this, and the son is always getting there. As the father said, he said that in his material that I hope that this story conveys well that he knew how this will develop. If I knew that how this would develop, I would sort of let go of the sport. Did they go to the right? Did they come back to the right? Konrad is driving regularly. He was in Morocco in the first 3. In Morocco, they say is much less demanding. It's shorter. But Morocco, they say it's almost like the car. The car is... The Paris Dakar is I would say the top of the tops is the Dakar ride. The first was the Paris Dakar. So that's the most demanding of the beaten track ride in the world. Everybody gets prepared for this. It's like Olympic Games for motor sports, off-road sportsmen. You can't just get into this out of nowhere. You need to pay a lot for this. You need to have sponsors. Apart from that, it's a suicide. If you are an amateur just like a motor driver, a casual motor driver, that would be suicide. I understand that the son that didn't want him to go, or did he sort of? How did you read that movie? Was he doing much or not? I think the father wanted him to go, but he only pretended he didn't. Maybe later he had second thoughts. There was this moment that he realized what can happen. If you were a father, would you like your son to go? If I did those rights earlier and I had the ambition for my son to drive, but he realized at some point that this might not end well. There had to be a few such situations. There was a moment. Well, but he was a driver himself. He knew what was happening there. The father knew. Maybe the father's ambitions. Whether. What do you think? I'm also interested about this movie. That everything in this movie. It's not that he didn't know. He knew for sure what he gets his son into. But that was his life earlier as a driver. And he wants to take his child and show them. I wouldn't like to label this or categorize this. I fully understand that he took the son, and he would want him to take part. Did he want him to win? Maybe not win, but maybe participate. I'm not judging this by that he took his son. And how do you judge him? Well, he was risking with his son's life. But this is a special sort of type of people who know what they're doing. Probably he's been driving since he was a child, like a son, then the father, then the son. It's a special type of people who know what they subscribe to. I don't. After this shot, when this historical shot when the young who was hugging his father who won, and he told him something. From that moment, I read that he got inspired with his father, and until this discussion when he broke down, I thought that it's, as you often see, father then forces his son to do stuff, that it will go this way. But then when he was talking to him that he can sort of give up at any point, that he shouldn't feel pressure, that he will got so stressed with his son, that I felt, wow, it's the other way around. It's such a good example that he knew himself that his son saw what father was doing, and he wanted to do the same. But he wanted from the beginning, he wanted to support him not to hurt himself. And for me, he was a better example. Did you understand that the father was a champion? I think that this is very interesting because you see the whole range of emotions of the father, because he wants to discourage his son a bit, or maybe just to put him at ease, and he's afraid. But on the other hand, he gives him freedom, and he'll say, he allows his son to drive on. He doesn't pressurize him to do anything. On the other hand, he feels pride. He's smiling a lot. It's presented in a very interesting way. When did you find the key, the narrative key to this story during the filming, during the editing? Where do you where do you see this story arc? This scene showed me a lot. When you don't have any, I had to clean this a lot. When you have sounds and we didn't have any image, but I still had to clean the sound a lot. After this scene, I understood that the relation is very interesting. This relationship between them, and pretty complicated. The father is pressed against the wall. He has no way out. He has to struggle his son to survive. His son, not to kill his own son through his passion, really, because the son, and I hope you can see that, is sort of challenging his own father's myth. Yeah. So that's the perennial. It applies to all of us. It's a paradigm of behavior. And the conflict. For me, when we were talking about this relation, when you said the behind the scenes of this movie, I can imagine that this is a great topic, a very universal topic. Fatherhood, parenthood. I think it's pretty satisfying when the son's interested in what you do and he follows your footsteps, and you get to the stage when you have the satisfaction that his son follows his footsteps, but then he realizes that maybe it's an extreme sort of sport. And the satisfaction is he's doing the same as me. We have the same level of communication, but on the other hand, he might die in this rally. And the additional information you get that two died, for example. A very interesting topic. And he was raised in such a way. You can see that he's a young boy. He's he's achieving the third place, but you can see that he's not a very mature rally racer. That's a very important motive we wanted to tackle, like this growing up. We wanted to build this in such a way that we would feel that the son goes down a certain path, and 19 years of age is a perfect moment to get a bit more mature. This is sick that the father was not able to stop him. But I think it was not easy because he was not in the rally. I have two sons. My son is 2 years old, and I can't stop him from climbing the cupboard, but he always climbs the cupboard. So my son looks at the father. The son looks at the father all the time. The father is always in the media. They talk about him. He comes back home every now and then, and he leaves the mother. That's the whole story, of course. There is a huge struggle between these two. Rather, I am sure that they love each other. And there's a huge struggle against the father on the part of the son. Even now, you can see that you can be better than him in the rankings. He has to be more famous than father.
On jakby nie przejechał tego rajdu, to tak jakby miał w głowie, że ten tata byłby jakby z tego niezadowolony, że był rozczarowany, i to jakby czułem, że to jest tam gdzieś, to też czułem bardziej w jego głowie, że ja nie czułem jakby, że to jest taki jakby typ ojca, który tam strasznie jakby...
I didn't feel that he's a pressurizing father. I felt that he's more supportive. It's more that this boy had more of a pressure internal pressure to challenge his father. It was related to a number of things if he didn't make it. It's not in this editing version. In the TV editing version, I think it's less interesting. I will not talk about it, it doesn't make sense. I wanted to tell a story about the father's fear, the pressure that he's subjected to, and that was what the movie was about, and that's what I focused on. I thought that this is the most interesting in the beginning of the 4th day of the ride. This is not true, of course, but so to speak, because then we focused only on this. I was looking for this, and that's why I stayed with the father. With the camera, I was always with the father. I always followed him. That's how I tried to be next to the father in all the risky moments of his son. That was the most important thing from the point of camera movement. The son is just driving the Dakar. He's a sportsman. He's struggling against himself. He's well prepared for the ride. The father knew how to prepare him. They had like years of preparation. That's the base for the father. He would not let him get a 19-year-old into this ride, but he was not mentally prepared. He was not able to be prepared mentally. I don't know how can you get prepared in such a way, because he had a mental breakdown in this trailer. I didn't know why. I thought that maybe because everybody told him around, mother called you. Is there a scene with the mother? No. There was a lot of pressure on him on every side, and he realized that if he doesn't finish this, he will lose, that the sponsors will pull out, that he will lose everything. Like, his father, Sonny, got a free ticket to ride because he is a famous father. And he's worthless himself. He was sitting there, and it occurred that he broke down because he saw an accident during the ride. We didn't see that. Nobody saw that. This is what I thought. I saw that in his eyes. I saw that this was his reaction, that he, because everybody around, everybody got broken up. Even the best Polish, the Polish champion, he was all broken. That was one of the most difficult Dakars. It was like a pure abattoir. And the very famous guy from the top 15, one of his idols, had an accident, and he had some horrible accident. He was totally broken into pieces. He survived. But when amateurs would fall down, who would be in the second 100, he would understand. But a guy who was better than him fell down, and that really broke him. You get it. He didn't carry that mentally. Physically, he doesn't. It doesn't matter. Physically, he managed. In that team, there were three racers older than him. One of a star of a Qatar motocross sports, and they were like, this Qatar guy was the black horse. Right now, it's a totally mixed team. And they didn't break down initially. The young guy broke down. The father got him off the pressure in this discussion. I don't know. That's how I read it, and I think that this was all about. He said, "Let's go home. It doesn't matter. You can go home now. We can prepare for Yeri. We'll go again." On the 5th day, he went, and these guys were driving, and they started to brake only in the second part of the car, and they both broke down. They didn't they didn't get to the end. One fell down. His motor. He was a very intelligent guy. He's a lawyer, extremely intelligent guy. He fell off his motor, and he broke down later. And it was like this whole sequence of events that the guy, nobody would go through it. And during the ride, he said, "I will not ride today." And he didn't make it physically, and he fainted during the ride, and he hit his head against the ground with 12G load, at the tip of his head, and there was no chance he would survive. And of course, he was broken to pieces. This is no joke. I was observing how people are breaking down there mentally, and it's a horrible type of sport. I wanted to make a film about those three guys, but they will all be, but I decided everybody will be lost because nobody will know what it will be all about. The Qatar guy also got all broken. He also had a crash. I didn't know that we'll be talking so much about this movie. I wanted to talk about the documentalist work on such projects. Let's move to that. I'm always open. It is so that I made a number of movies as a DOP. I did a lot of movies with female directors. It's pretty important because we went to Mongol steppes where me and the director were, I don't know, it doesn't matter if male, female. There were two of us, and we would go to a Burma and Thailand border jungle, Las Vegas desert. When I was studying, they qualified me, they pigeonholed me that I'm a where nature resonates with the pictures. They send me everywhere where the conditions are horrible. And with Dakar, it was the same story. It's a very difficult desert. I did a lot of pictures in Gobi, but Sahara, it's not Sahara. I don't remember whichever. It's close to Sahara, but this way or another. That it was also a Dakar for us, for everybody, for the father. No sleep, because we had to get up before everybody and go to sleep after everyone. And we did a lot of filming. So quite often there was no sleep. And I took my wife to Dakar, my current. And we also broke up there. She can confirm that she wanted to leave me after Dakar because she didn't know that you can work like this. But for me, it was normal. You have to reset your head totally. Sometimes you can't take a piss even. Your brain starts to go haywire, and you have to have certain very well you have to have very strong assumptions in your head. In every documentary, the thing is, it's always like this in the documentary. When a lot of things start to happen, there was a guy who had an ingenious scene during his filming, but he didn't record it and he turned it off. Usually, when things get really interesting, you're the most tired, and this is when you really have to start. You have to sort of turn your boat around during the storm and go in a different way. So in a documentary, when you're dead tired, you see the tiredness in your protagonist, but their masks are going down. They start to be authentic when they're very tired. And I knew I will never get through to them, because I didn't know them. and I will not get them to trust me. But I knew that after a few days, they will not be noticing me anymore, because it's not possible. They will be all about themselves and about survival. And this is where I saw the chance to get to the bottom of them. And I knew that I will be extremely tired. Thankfully, I had some experience with from other filming sets, so I threw away my tripod. Of course, I knew that I will not be entering the trailer, that we playing everything from the outside. I knew more or less what will be the settings of the camera, the minimum amount of equipment. The less people on the set, the better. So my wife was helping me with preparing certain things. She did unfortunately the majority of things, and she also did the sound, because she's a trained sound engineer. It was FX6 Sony. It's also a small camera, just like Wojtek Staroń mentioned. He's shooting with it, but my lens was not that big. I mean, yeah, it's a bit unbalanced because the lens. In terms of lenses, we had a fixed lens. It's good to select the lens to a project. In those harder projects, you need to have one and one spare, 50 millimeters. And I must tell you that it was a bit too wide. And I had a bit of a problem because I had to come up very close. And as you've noticed, sometimes these camera movements were very, very long. Sometimes I missed having a longer lens, and I didn't crop the materials in the post-production. That was a big problem. I destroyed like 5 cameras. And it occurs that GoPro are the best for this sort of thing, the best cameras for this, because all other inventions I had broke down. But the problem is not the camera. Yeah, the power supply. And I destroyed all power banks that I had. I had many different ways of power banks. I didn't manage to do any tests before that. And we didn't know that. Power banks are destroyed in 10 minutes. Everything falls apart inside.
Kadry to on bardziej mechanik miał wpływ, ja się kłóciłem, coś tam na tym mogłem, co było, to było, kadry, coś czasami reklama.
So concerning this camera, because I was thinking when he was falling down, had it planned like this, I knew that he will fall down. I didn't know that he will fall down. I had close up, and I mean the camera was dead on the very start. So you were lucky to have it recorded. Was it GoPro or was it a mini fragment? I'll tell the truth. This is a different fall from a different day. But this fall really took place, and it was a bit different. Even post-production, I did it as if it was really from the description of Konrad. So he would fall. He made a somersault to the front. And this fall was to the side. It was done in post-production. Filip Czernov, fantastic guy. He did it in such a way that he sort of rolled this for me. Instead of this, he made the motor to fly like it flew during the accident. In post-production, we made a fall that it was as it was in reality. We had a different footage, and we remade it into how it was in original. GoPro batteries, because of G-force. GoPro battery will survive an hour. Power banks I had like for 10 hours. because he was going from early morning to dusk, and it was impossible to have somebody driving around behind him. I sometimes ask somebody to do that, but in power banks, you would need to find a power bank which is encased into some sort of a substance, because when I took a power bank after that, I could play it like a shaker. Everything was totally detached inside. Everything was a mess inside. It was a moment. The first hit. People would die there if one cable I mean, it is. I think it's forbidden. You cannot have anything. You cannot have any cameras on the helmets. They used to have that in the past, but it's very, very dangerous. I was afraid when I put this camera anywhere. I got money for a different project. The other one, I have the footage for the other one, partly. I even started to editing something, but I will not be making the movie out of that. I applied to PIS for. How do you pull out from such a project? You get the money for development. You're able to go there and do a research and do initial footage. And this is what I did. I went there. I sat there before the Dakar. I was for a month. I met those girls, both of them. I was in their house. I did interviews with them, as I said, some long interview. I felt how they speak. I tried to get to befriend them, etc., so that they trust me. Two totally different culture. There's really a chasm between them. It's like we totally different. We got a lot of nice footage, but then I told Asia, my wife, that there's no topic there because there's no conflict, and they don't struggle against anything. They have like the fairy tale life. They can build their own image on the internet somewhere. Such a documentary would help them. That would be a good footage for a TV feature, maybe for Netflix, where every episode tells a story about a girl like this, but it was not a documentary in an artistic sense. When we're entering something and we try to read some truth about human beings, we're just skimming the surface. And I was trying to get there, trying to get out to talk about some difficult topics. We wanted to try to get to the fathers of the family, because the father is like the demigod of the family. They decide about everything. She was most afraid what the father would say if he sees such a documentary. So from the outset, my case was lost. It was not about her even, what would happen. About the father, who I don't know who he was. I mean, I sort of knew he had so many companies. Like this house looked like from the 1001 Nights, Arabian Nights. But that was we get to go, for example, the gym, and there was like this huge gym, and there was just one person training in this gym. This gym was in Jeddah. One princess was from Jeddah, and she was who was of mixed blood, but she was a descendant of Saudis. She was from the Saudi family. And her father was living in London, and they were more open to everything. She was also she was also traveling abroad. And the other princess, she was not as well known. She was also from a Saudi family, and her father worked. He was in the ministry, like the oil ministry. So he was taking care of the Saudi oil. Oh, like 30% of oil in the world is of Saudi origin. I was supposed to go to a strawberry a field which was above the cloud level. And I met the whole sort of society of those princesses, which was crazy. But if I try to do this movie, what Wojtek said, it doesn't make sense. About protagonists about whom we will do something negative, because it's detrimental to them and detrimental to you as the author. You get my drift. So you pulled out. Yes, I did. Moving on, coming back to... I wanted to... I don't know if you're interested in that at this moment. I was wondering how to prepare yourself for filming in difficult conditions. First, what I told you is that you have to minimize. After the third day, regardless of what you're filming, especially when we went abroad, we couldn't do good research before. Let's say I gave myself as a DOP more or less 3 days to grasp the topic and to understand how to film the protagonist and to find the visual and to build the visual world. And on the 4th day only, I said without this pressure, I know already. It was 3 days where to get your head around where you are and where you should put the camera, and don't shoot everything. That's the basic rule. It's like with talking. You construct the sentence which has a meaning, which means you launch the camera, you have some situation, and you know that you have to press rec at this moment because you see the story starts to unfold, or it might start to unfold in a sec. That's why you have to talk with the protagonist a moment before, because you know when something interesting might start. Here you can talk so much so that you foresee the situations in the image. Do you understand what I'm saying? So such 3 days, I gave myself 3 days. I said after 3 days, let's just pick anything because I don't mind. I mean, it doesn't matter. Let's make a movie. I decided that, and normally 2-3 days was enough. And the basic rule is don't shoot everything. I did this mistake with my recent documentary that I'm editing right now. But it was very difficult. We also didn't sleep for whole nights, and we were editing everything. And I have such a chaos in editing. Yeah, your overflow of footage, yes, for a short. But if something escapes, a lot will escape. Right now, I think the material will be better if I would shoot less. But at least I have everything that happened. I have everything that happened. Nothing else happened. So intuition? No. I get everything because I put people everywhere. It was not just me shooting, but a few people, 24/7. But now I was not able to be everything at the same time. The cinematographers were shooting everything, and I was also shooting everything. No, is it not better to have more? No, it's better when you're shooting. When you're a cinematographer, if you're shooting everything, the most interesting stuff, you're not filming it well. This is important to keep your energy for this important moment. I protected myself into so many different ways. I have a thermos. I have this one. It's like a refuge. I don't smoke, so this is a moment when you have to deal with hunger. You have to deal with, I can't say, but with the impossibility of using a toilet, lack of sleep, which is the most difficult thing for me. and you after a few days you're pretty robotic already when it's really tough. You have sets where we organize everything for ourselves. When we get into certain routine, because you can't do otherwise. When I was going to the jungle, we went in this village of women with very long necks. We made a movie there, and what we did, we were supposed to live there with them, but we were so civilized that we couldn't stay there. Like shouts of those lizards during the night, some strange insects that were biting us. That's something that didn't work. That we had some incredible equipment that was supposed to scare them away, and they got more angry with that, or irritated them. Some like so crazy stuff there. But the big problem was that we were taking Malaron against malaria, because it was rain season. In Burma, you have like it's beautiful. You can do beautiful shots. We took Malaron, and there were so many cockroaches. We would get, and we did not have it well built because we don't have barriers, etc., etc. So all these cockroaches would come to us after the whole day of shooting. You were dreaming to sleeping, and you felt those cockroaches walking around you. We had rum, so we were drinking this rum with Malaron. Rum is so toxic that we were totally drugged. We puked. We were, soaked. We were sweaty. We were sweating all times, and these insects, those mosquitoes, and those long shots from hand. So that was a real, it was horrible. We said we can't do it. With the sound engineer, we were doing everything during the night. We said no, we can't take it here, and we devised the system. 2 nights in there. Third night we sleep in the town. We just couldn't take it anymore. And in town, of course, 3-hour massages, etc., etc., oil massage. It was almost free. Great food, beer, and first shower, then sleep, and then everything else. Total regeneration, and this allowed us to shoot because it was too hard on us. And in terms of humidity, how did you protect your equipment? Unintuitively, I'm a fan of minimize the number of lenses, because that's you just don't take off the lens. I'm not using any zooms. I hate zooms. I use them only in commercial projects because zooms have something like this. Zoom has something like this, that they slowly get into focus and they slowly move out of focus. So it has this sort of a blurby. If you entering and the fixed lenses, it goes very quick into focus, and you quickly go out of focus, and that's why it's much more clear cut, and there's very little lens. There are less layers of glass in between. So fixed lenses, it's much more noble. It's much more exquisite from the point of view of image, and you also start to feel after a while. You start to feel the distance. So you come up very close. And you know what is the frame, and Dziworsky taught me that do not lock yourself in the preview. If you're looking through an eye lens, you have to have the other eye open, because otherwise you won't manage. If you have the other eye open, sometimes you look through the eye lens and sometimes you look to the side. You will not fall down, etc. The techniques, walking sideways, backwards, you have to work that. Yeah, otherwise you will not tell a story, because if you keep only one frame, in order to tell a story, you have to open the space. Somebody comments something, you have to move to him. So everybody's laughing, laughing here, and you turn and there's a sad guy. So, and there's a conflict. You're turning back, you're turning to the side. For example, in The Dust, that's how it was constructed. These situations, they commented one another through what father thinks, even if he was sitting without an expression. The fact that I moved the camera towards him, and if the son didn't talk to anyone, I had a certain story between them. I don't know if you see that. It was more of a dance with the camera moving left, right. It was opening the reality by showing two different people. But with the lenses, when you feel the space, then you walk with your legs, and during the movement of the camera you will go here. You cannot stand and suddenly go like this, because that will kill everything. Did I tell you about such things during my classes? Or if you have a if you have a fixed lens, you can follow somebody and then move 2 additional steps, because then you would feel that the camera is moving, and you have the right to for the camera. If the camera, so you can move the camera, walk up during movement of the camera. If nothing else is moving, or as if you were restarting the frame. But I wouldn't change the frame, because you don't think about it in a documentary. I haven't seen that old feature movie, like fiction movie thinking that first you make a white plan, then you make a detail, and then you now with the documentary you rather think about the differences of the set, and you have to edit everything, and it's a great mode of thinking. But everybody's looking more of a sense of a scene, and the audience works better, for example, in the medium plan or in a wide plan, wide shot, medium shot. Let's say you have a person in a wide room, you take a wide shot and you do it in one shot, and the perception of the viewer changes because they start to make movies themselves. And right now it's a bit different. The brothers Lumiere, when the train enters the station, people were running away because they didn't know how it works. And right now the viewer is more aware than 10 years ago, for example. And right now you can allow yourself to do more. And they've seen much more in terms of forms of the film language, like the visual forms. Do you know what I'm talking about? So you can allow yourself to do more, but that's only one rule. You have to be consequential. So if you're spoiling something in a certain way, you spoil it from the beginning until the end. Or what you come up with, treat it as your language, try to be which you're using. And this with the sentences, it is also important that when you have some story, you have to have the subject and what's happening to it. All the words have to play together. They have to click together, and only then you have a good shot. It has to be about something. If you have a shot about something, it will finally build one story. I think that's the most difficult thing. I know a person who can foresee future in a documentary. I know such a person. I didn't know that anybody like this would exist. It's Bogdan Dziworski. He was, I don't know if don't know him. He made a lot of photographs, and he has like a third eye. He enters. We made a movie about Andy Warhol, which was not edited yet. We've done that for 5 years. We entered some gay bar, like drag queen bar. And it was so dense you couldn't put the camera. So we hid ourselves in a corner. We went a bit up to see the people, to look at their heads from the top. And I said, what should we shoot there? I was thinking. The first shooting day with Dziworski, because Dziworski was my grandmaster. He says, point there. I'm shooting to the 3 people. I started filming them. and there was a situation between them. It just happened a few minutes ago. Later, there was like a big row or an argument, and this is not the first. And then I started to listen to stories about him, and it was very often with him because he was shooting like Cartier-Bresson. And like decisive moment, he totally had it. I got this from a very known documentalist that they were together in some away on some filming set. And Dvorsky was and he was standing there with his Leica camera, and he said, "I'll stay here." And there was a man. Was it like antique shop? And there was a very small window behind him. I didn't see the picture as he did it, but he left him, and then he looks at the pictures. He didn't, and there was this guy sitting there, and there's a swallow. He got him in that window. He got the swallow in that window. You didn't know Dvorsky from this side. Anyway, he's a very special man. He's a very specific man. He has his own world. But there is a genius in what he's doing. And the plans are, I just finished. I completed the correction of the series mainstream, which is, it's like a mockumentary, but this was on order, but I enjoyed that. I was working for The Office, 4th season. And as a documentaries, I'm doing the short form. I need to do some more. I need to shoot some more stuff. Sorry, I need to add one more stuff there. So I'm in the middle of the filming, and I'm starting to do a documentary about Kian Iwrowski, paleontologist. She was a very important figure in paleontology. She discovered. She made a number of the voyages to Asia, and she changed the thinking about mammals, which is also related to global warming and what will happen to us, because she watched the mammals when there was this big change of climate. Unfortunately, she's dead already, but there's a lot of footage. A very interesting character, because Spielberg consulted with her T-Rex, and she lectured in Harvard. She's a totally crazy, like she's an incredible figure in paleontology. She achieved a great success in a male environment, a very strong personality. I like films about stronger personalities. And I have many footage from her expeditions which were never shown. Everything was happening there. Coming back to the dust. What did you film it with? 50. I'll tell you. I got all this together. When I'm going into the unknown, I'm taking a lot of lenses. I'm hiding them everywhere. Hopefully not zooms. I took one zoom now. Finishing? I have a zoom.
Ostatnio w takich projektach
Depending on the project, my recent project that I did on a Zeiss, Listagon and Octon.
są bardzo fajne.
These are very good lenses. Maybe you have them here. What sort of lens is that?
Do tych Zeissów,
And to these
dobrałem sobie
Zeiss,
zooma,
fixed Zeiss, I got this,
udało mi się wychwycić
to find the zoom. I got a strange zoom from Japan.
bardzo takim 135,
135, I think.
to jest tak,
Older?
czy 28,
Or 28, 35?
najwyżej skali jest jeszcze makro do
It's a macro on top of this. This is what I really want to have. I usually do a macro like this, that I take the zoom out of the socket.
wyciągam.
I just take it out of the socket.
Tak, i sobie, sobie troszkę musimy kończyć.
We have to finish.
A to skończymy transmisję, ale jak chcecie, to możemy
So let's finish transmission, but we can move on talking. Yeah.
oficjalnie.
Thank you.
No i słuchajcie, słuchaj, ja sobie biorę tak, biorę sobie i tu, powiem Ci szczerze, troszkę